So last Tuesday night, a friend of the show, Sean Hannity, on his programming had this guy, I think Curtis Sliwa.
Okay.
Does that name ring a bell?
No, not at all.
He had this guy on for a live interview. He's the head of a New York organization that's been around since 1979 called the Guardian Angels. I'd like it if you tried to guess what the Guardian Angels do in New York City.
The Guardian Angels.
Yeah.
Maybe they sit at like they sit right in front of the gates to the subway.
Yeah.
And they report people that fair hop.
Ooh, see, close.
They're the
close.
Guardian Angels of the New York City transportation system.
I'll give you a hint. They're kind of stealing the Ku Klux Klan's whole flow.
Yo, I don't think that's a good flow to steal.
I don't think so either.
So they're just doing racism?
Kind of. They are harassing minorities in New York City.
Okay,
They're a group they're a vigilante group founded on patrolling New York to stop crimes.
Mm-hmm.
And so Sean Hannity was interviewing this guy, the head of it, in a positive light. They walk around in fucking bomber jackets and red berets just LARPing. The literal definition of LARPing. You're a civilian, dog. I don't know what we're doing here. But anyway, while Sean was interviewing this guy about, I don't know how problematic it is that a bunch of immigrants are in town because a bunch of asylum seekers landed in New York.
Hey, narratively relevant. Very relevant topic.
Very narratively relevant. During their live interview, this guy goes, oh, it looks like we're getting one now. And they fucking turn turn the camera around after two of the like volunteer guardians or whatever like leave his side and just go accost some guy. They say, we got one right here. This is an immigrant who is shoplifting. And they just put him in a headlock and call the cops on him.
They just did a hate crime like on primetime Fox, Sean Hannity.
Because it's like They said this is an immigrant who is shoplifting. We just stopped him. Sean, we got one right on camera on live TV. The NYPD came out. The spokesperson for the NYPD came out and said, this guy's not a migrant. He's a dude that lives in the Bronx. He's some guy that lives in the Bronx, and there's no evidence that he was shoplifting.
I was just going to ask, how would they know? They just assume because he's a non-white person?
Basically.
Oh, okay.
Basically, which is fucking insane.
Yeah.
That just happened. No charges are being pressed against the Guardian Angels for this.
Yeah, well, what a surprise. In Eric Adams, New York City, people are being accosted by white supremacists.
Fucking accost just any dude that looks like an immigrant. And you know what they said? They said this guy was speaking Spanish. we thought he was an immigrant because this guy was speaking Spanish.
Yeah, famously, no Spanish speakers in the United States other than the immigrants that came here.
And then other Guardian Angels said, yeah, we have seen this guy on patrols before with other Spanish speakers. So that must mean that he was an immigrant who's shoplifting.
God. That's crazy. And I bring up Eric Adams specifically because he, for New York City, has kind of been like the mouthpiece for immigration fear-mongering. Yeah. Because he had a speech like a month ago or maybe back in 2023 where he was basically saying like the city is lost. We cannot recover from the wave of immigration that's happened. Like totally stoking fears and stoking tension. So the fact that people feel emboldened enough to commit a hate crime against a minority on primetime Fox in New York City isn't surprising when this is what our leaders are doing.
Well, it's like, I just don't understand why we let a group like this just walk around in broad daylight.
Yeah.
Because they've been accused for their, I don't know, entire life of just harassing minorities, just targeting brown people in New York City. And even this guy, Curtis Silva, he's come out and admitted that they've lied about stories before just to boost publicity for the group.
Oh my God.
They've lied about a bunch of shit just to get the group going. Why are we letting a literal vigilante organization run around and do fucking injustice?
Yeah, all hiding behind the facade like we're protecting the city against crime.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, dog.
You just did a crime. You just assaulted a guy for speaking Spanish.
If you just let the NYPD do their thing, they'll cover the same bases you do. It's not going to be anything
I'm sorry,
new.
but you're really not needed. The NYPD got in a fucking brawl with immigrants in Times Square for like, I don't know, fucking standing in a group and being just standing and speaking Spanish.
Yeah, no, we've talked about the NYPD so many times, but if they could hook up like a turret system and kill fair hoppers, they would do it.
Absolutely. I'm surprised these guys haven't been recruited into the NYPD.
Yeah, and I feel like my fair hopper guess at the jump wasn't that far off because I feel like they probably racialized that crime quite a bit. They're probably like, yeah, we know who's leading the fair hopper movement, the fair hopping mafia that exists in New York City. We know who it is.
We know.
Yeah.
We know who you are.
Not good to see racists emboldened.
That's what I'm saying. On live TV, we got one on, like, what are the odds?
Yeah.
What are the fucking odds? We got one on live TV, Sean, right here. Come on, look at this.
Yeah, it's got to be a bad sign of the times. And, you know, this is kind of all just conjecture on my part, piecing together all the different elements, but gotta feel like the Democrat unwillingness, or I guess the liberal unwillingness to push back against the conservative immigration narrative is allowing shit like this to proliferate.
Absolutely.
Because it's like if you don't push back in the mainstream at all against this idea that like there's an invasion, even as north as New York City, then people are gonna feel like, well, we got to do something.
We got to do something. Come on, what? New York City's being overrun. Yeah. So my small town in Iowa must also be overrun.
Yeah.
Golly,
not good. Not good.
Not good at all.
Welcome back to Head in the Office, the only podcast where you can get news on legislation.
That's right.
On geopolitics, on transphobia.
Oh, yeah.
All in one.
And more.
All in one episode. And more. So much transphobia all in one episode. Transphobia really making a comeback.
I'm saying it's
not that it really ever left, but it's back with a vengeance.
It fell
this
off
week.
towards the end of 2023, but 2024, we are, I guess, letting that shit slide.
I would say that that sums it up. But before we get into the episode today, I'll remind you all, if you want a commercial-free experience, if you want to hear the episode mere hours after it was recorded, and if you want the news timely rather than a couple of days later, head over to patreon.com/headintheofficepod. It's there for you. Become a patron and maybe get your name shouted out.
Especially right now during this political primary season where all the fucking results come out on Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you miss them. You don't get them till the following week.
Yeah, we're talking about results today. And Super Tuesday coming up very quickly.
Oh my God. Super Tuesday, notably, like I say, on a Tuesday.
On a Tuesday, yeah.
Not Wednesday.
And if you want to hear that news, or you want to hear news before the Super Tuesday results become relevant in the mainstream news, then you got to become a patron. But you can also get some merch at headintheoffice.com. You know, it's getting warmer outside. It was just 60 degrees in February in Michigan.
Love that. I got a little notification on my computer. It was like record high. I was like, oh, it's cool.
Absolutely.
I seem to be getting those a lot recently.
Yeah. You know, the caretakers of our planet have always been graceful people. But get some merch, you know, short sleeve shirts over there, hats. It's going to be sunny before you know it. And we'll hit another all-time record in the summer. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, hell yeah. And, you know, if you want to support the show in a way that's not, I guess, monetary, that's completely for free, no cost to you, I'd say arguably maybe even just strictly benefit to you.
Yeah, exactly.
You can leave a 5-star review on Apple like these three wonderful people did. Starting off with the first one.
Yeah, I'll take it.
We have Wonderful Podcast, So Croquette.
Go crazy.
By Makalaka. I am a full-time listener and part-time college student at How It Should Be. Head in the Office is my favorite pastime, as I am always looking for an excuse not to do my homework. These two keep me up to date with political issues I oftentimes don't have the time to follow up on. So a weekly recap on Sunday, subtle Patreon flex. And now I have to say here, this is editor's note. It's not subtle. Just you wear that shit proud.
Yeah, no, not subtle at all. It's explicit.
Wear that shit proud. We are absolutely classist here on this podcast. There is preferential
I'm punching down. I'm punching down.
Yeah. But anyway, back to the review. On Sunday, keeps me feeling ready to take on any Republican/conservative I encounter throughout the week. I also wish I became a listener before talking about politics was banned in my house. I probably would have won more fights with my dad. By the way, I condemn Hamas.
Got it in there at the very end. I'm very happy about that. And you know, that is one of the main points of the show, is to give you the tools you need to debunk your parents, your friends. Exactly. And whoever else you need to argue against.
Just look at the famed, historically relevant holiday pregame. 1, 2, 3, and 4?
Something like that.
1, 2, and 3, something.
It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter, because as long as you have what you need, then we're doing our job.
Hell yeah.
And we want you to be prepared. The next one here is by Chaoticville Horse Girl, Jeremy Engage for Gods of the Universe. That's a prestigious title.
That's what I'm saying.
I didn't know the election was coming up. Love these guys. I listen to them all the time, no matter what I'm doing. Like the loyal servant I am, I show my appreciation by wearing my merch, tithing my income to be a Sunday supremacist, and spreading the Hiddo gospel, and of course, condemning Hamas.
Exactly.
What else can I ask for?
I just have to also add, like, you're all Sunday supremacists for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Like there's a reason why it's a Sunday supremacist and a Wednesday weenie.
Yeah, Marx wrote about the dichotomy between Sunday supremacists and Wednesday weenies. A lot of people think it was capitalist versus working class. No.
No.
Sunday supremacists versus Wednesday weenie. That's the true divide in society.
That's right. This next review, Best Combo of Nuance and Left-Wing Politics by Brady_218-651-503.
Yeah.
Discovered the podcast on TikTok like several months ago or so, and have become more of a fan ever since. As a leftist who appreciates nuance and doesn't like the escapist ideas of some on the left, but still retains my left-wing politics, I have to appreciate a podcast like this that can criticize modern Democrats, but doesn't resort to don't do anything until the revolution comes that we see way too often. Combining the pragmatism of some more mainstream liberal podcasts with the left-wing politics of leftist podcasts. These things should not be mutually exclusive. Pragmatism does not equal centrism. Leftism does not equal escapism.
I agree. I noticed no condemnation of Hamas, though, so I have to completely disregard everything
I might have to put you just squarely on the liberal end of things.
Yeah, you didn't even condemn Hamas. How can we
got fucking Anthony Blinken listening to the podcast?
No, but I agree. I also don't like the conflation of being pragmatic or practical with somehow being a liberal. I think it weakens leftist movements. To be a leftist, you don't need to be an idealist. You don't need to abandon strategic action. I think when it comes to like what will be strategic or what is actually practical or pragmatic, that actually doesn't really have anything to do with ideology.
Yeah.
Like conservatives can be pragmatic. Many of them are when passing legislation. Or you can be like Mike Johnson, I suppose, and then, propose a bill that you then vote against. Not very pragmatic, but that doesn't, of course, make them a leftist in any way. It's just your preferred method of strategy. And look,
exactly. Yeah.
I want to win. I like winning.
I do. I like winning. I like power, I guess.
I love power.
I love power.
Yeah, I love
Give
power.
me more.
Time to get into the news.
Speaking of power.
Election roundup.
Speaking of power and those who will not attain it.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to sum it up. This past week, we had a number of election results come out that, while pretty expected, nothing out of the ordinary, still noteworthy, and I still think we should talk about them. So
yeah, the results for these last few rounds of like primary elections have the end result has been exactly the same as any reasonable person would have predicted. However, how we got there, wild every time.
Funny.
Wild every time.
Very, very funny. So last week, the state of Nevada held a primary election where Donald Trump was not on the ballot. This was the state-run primary election. And Nikki Haley, the presumed runner-up, the one that's presumed to be in second place, lost to none of these candidates.
Insane.
By 63% to 30%. That's a 33% margin for those counting at home. So none of these candidates won 63% of the vote. And the person that's supposed to be in second behind Donald Trump won 33% of the vote.
Literally, no one won.
Yeah.
Literally, no one won. And Nikki Haley couldn't even beat no one.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Like,
in fact, if you look at the county by county data, there wasn't a single county in which Nikki Haley won the majority of the vote.
So
nobody won over her in every single county.
We've had 3 primary elections so far
for the GOP. Yeah,
for the GOP. Has she won one county?
She did in Iowa.
She
Johnson
won one county in Iowa.
The Marxists that voted for her, she won by one vote.
Holy shit, standing strong.
Yeah.
Standing strong. Stand proud.
Yeah, stand proud, Nikki Haley. Turnout was, okay, we can talk about some caveats to this major defeat by nobody from Nikki Haley. Turnout was pretty low, only 74,000 people. Also, Nikki Haley didn't dedicate a lot of time or money to Nevada because she wasn't going to be in the caucus. The caucus is what was actually awarding delegates, and she wasn't allowed to be in the caucus because she was on the primary ballot. So she didn't spend a whole lot of time on Nevada.
Okay.
Regardless of that, though, you're the candidate in second place. Losing by 30% to nobody, not a good sign for your electoral chances.
Regardless of whether or not this matters, dare I say, just kind of the headlines that come out of this are that's career ending right there.
The coverage is bad.
That's killer.
Yeah.
If we were in a best podcast competition and people voted none of these guys, man, I'd fucking quit.
Yeah, I don't know how you recover from that. Obviously, people are voting for nobody in the primary as a stand-in for Trump, I would assume.
For sure.
But it looks so much worse because it says literally none of these candidates, and you're the one that's supposed to, in Trump's stead, fill his role, right? And you can't even do that. You can't even do that.
And it's the election that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, this is the one that does not hold any delegates, literally holds nothing except either boosting or I guess, whatever the opposite of that is, your campaign.
Yeah.
By headlines. This was something that she probably thought, she's like, okay, I'm going to go in and I can actually claim a win here. I can actually say I won something rather than lying about winning something or lying about coming in second place.
Yeah, this was the one chance she had where she could have said, like, oh, well, thank you so much, Nevada. Like, you voted for me in the primary, even though it didn't matter. It's just like the New Hampshire Democratic primary that didn't matter, where Marianne Williamson or Dean Phillips had the chance to do something, but Biden won via write-in. Like, it's just ridiculous shit, this election cycle. It's absurd. Losing to nobody in Nevada in the GOP primary where Trump's not even on the ballot? Come on. It's bad. It's bad.
Especially with such low turnout, too.
Yeah.
Because it's like the people who are voting for Trump, they're not fucking wasting their time unless they're, I don't know, fanatics.
Yeah, well, for the election that actually mattered, the GOP, the Nevada caucus, Donald Trump won 99% of the vote and all of the delegates. Again, Nevada this primary season was kind of a sham on the GOP side, so it is what it is. Trump gets all of those delegates, and Nikki Haley gets headlines about losing to nobody.
Nice.
So, pretty fun.
Nice.
If we switch over to the Democratic side, Joe Biden won the Nevada primary with 89% of the vote, about 112,000 votes total. None of these candidates came in second place with 5.6% of the vote. Marianne Williamson came in third with 3% of the vote, and Dean Phillips was, for some reason, not on the ballot. Later, Marianne Williamson dropped out of the race, by the way.
Oh, she did?
February 7th, so she's done. It seems like none of these candidates, guy, has bipartisan appeal.
Oh, absolutely.
I, too, want none of these candidates. Maybe I'm voting for none of these candidates. Hold on.
Well, maybe, just maybe. No, but at least where none of these candidates is likely a stand-in for Trump in the GOP primary or caucus or whichever the one is that didn't matter that Nikki Haley lost. None of these candidates is more likely a stand-in for like the ceasefire now, right? And things like that.
Yeah, that's what I would imagine as well. But, I mean, coming in second place is pretty huge.
Yeah.
Dean Phillips not even on the ballot. Marianne dropped out.
Come on, man.
It's what a joke. What a joke. Up next, electorally, we have South Carolina, Nikki Haley's home state. That's important.
Nice.
They will have their GOP primary on February 24th, which is a brutal 2 weeks away, or a week and a half from the time this episode releases. But I figure we could take a look at some polling and see how our favorite candidates are going to stack up.
See how my favorite political person, Nikki Haley,
that's right,
is going to make it.
So aggregate polling puts Trump at 65% of the vote and Nikki Haley at about 31% of the vote as of February 10th, again, in her home state of South Carolina, the state where she was a governor.
State where she's won elections before.
Individual polls from the end of January paint a similar picture with Trump floating around 60% or so. If Nikki Haley loses the primary here, I would say it's devastating, but I can't imagine what's worse than losing to literally no one. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, no. If she doesn't drop out, literally, I don't know now, which she's not going to. No. She's got to drop out after South Carolina.
Yeah, well,
she has to.
I hope she sticks it out till Super Tuesday, because then at least we'll have something to talk about on or after Super Tuesday, I suppose.
Oh, that's true, because if she's not around, then it's just Trump won.
Yeah, then it's just Trump. Well, yeah. Then
either way, it's going to be Trump won.
Right.
But at least if Trump wins and Nikki Haley's there, we can be like, haha, Nikki Haley lost.
Right. It's like, oh my God, Alaska voted for Nikki Haley by, they voted for her 10% less than Trump. That's huge. Maybe she's coming back.
Holy shit, Nikki Haley doubled the amount of counties she won. Oh my goodness.
For the Democrats, the next primary state is the beautiful, wonderful, perfect state of Michigan.
Absolutely.
That's happening on February.
Marxist Michigan, I've always said.
February 27th. Biden obviously going to win in Michigan. But then after that, it's Super Tuesday on March 5th. 16 elections are held on March 5th. That's why it's called Super Tuesday, because it's like where the majority, or I guess the plurality of states hold their elections for the primary. And I'm going to assume this is where the nail in the coffin will be for Nikki Haley if she stays after South Carolina. Unless Trump dies or something. But
she's got to be.
Even if Trump died, seems like none of these candidates has the election on lock.
I mean, that's got to be what she's banking on, right?
Yeah.
She's got to be banking on him dying or him literally becoming ineligible to run. But if he becomes ineligible to run, I'm sorry, but I feel like she's still not the person.
Yeah, nobody's getting it over you. And then maybe nobody wins the general election.
Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that just be fucking great?
Republicans elect the first nothing president. I don't know. That would be pretty sick. I'd have to vote for nobody over Biden in the general, just to see what happens.
God damn, man.
But yeah, Super Tuesday on March 5th. Obviously, Biden is going to sail through and become the nominee, unless he dies. That would be crazy. Both of them die?
Whew.
What an event that would be. Maybe that's the most likely outcome. I don't know.
President Harris.
Yeah.
President Harris, come on.
But I would imagine Nikki Haley drops out probably maybe before, maybe after Super Tuesday. But that'll Super Tuesday awards the most delegates out of all of the contests. So we'll see what happens. But Nikki Haley not going to win.
I just you think she's even going to crack 30 in South Carolina?
30%?
Yeah.
I got to think that she would. It's her home state. Like, not cracking 30 would be great. She cracked 30 in Nevada. You know,
I guess, yeah.
But that one also didn't matter. Had low turnout and nobody won. So
exactly. I mean, she cracked 30, but she lost to nobody. Yeah. Nobody cracked 60.
I mean, it doesn't matter if she cracks 30, right? Like losing in your home state to any degree is going to look bad, even if it was like a 5% margin. No matter what, it's going to look bad for her. But
won all those debates and for nothing.
Yeah,
and for what? And for what?
Holy she won all of them according to us.
According to us, she won at least most of them, right?
Yeah, definitely at least the one that was like her versus DeSantis.
Yeah,
she definitely did better. But it just it doesn't matter. She's going to meet his fate as well.
Speaking of debates, did you see that Trump went on one of the right-wing programs and it's like, I want to debate Joe Biden right now?
Oh, that would be so good.
I want you to debate Joe Biden right now, too. Please.
If we could just get like 8 debates before the general election that we could oh my God.
Just one every month leading up to November. Come on, man.
I'm starting to think he might be fighting for the working class. Donald Trump, I mean.
Well, exactly.
The way he's trying to get us content to come.
You know, I'm starting to think that Joe should come out of his basement.
God, that'd
be crazy. Because it's like the thing is, like, the accusation is, oh, Joe Biden can't speak, like, blah, 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 whatever. Like, we get him on. I honestly, at this point, I don't even know if that'll be bad for Joe. Mm-hmm. I don't even know if doing a debate and getting on there and missing the dates of everything and literally slurring your words and doing whatever and forgetting that would even be bad for him. Because everybody knows at this point.
Everyone knows he's old, yeah.
Everybody knows this guy fucking sucks.
It would be great content though for him and Trump to be debating starting in like March.
Yeah,
every month starting in March. Oh man, that would be good. That'd be good. Skipping ahead, there. I don't know if you saw this, but there was a story that came out about the documents case related to Joe Biden.
Yeah. Was he declared? I might have spent too much time on conservative Reddit this week, but was he declared unfit to stand trial for the case?
No,
that's what conservatives.
It wasn't exactly that. The special prosecutor decided to not pursue the case, and one of the reasons he listed is that Biden will come across as like an old gentleman that just happened to misplace documents because he's so old.
Yeah,
that's why he's not going forward with the case because to a grand jury they'll feel sympathy for him, like, oh, he's just an old guy. He misplaced the documents. It happens.
Yeah,
he thought there'd be nothing that came of it, so it wouldn't be worthy to put in front of a trial. And to be fair, even if he wasn't an old guy, I think Biden's document case and even the Mike Pence document case is a lot harder to prove criminal intent than the one that Donald Trump did, where he's on recording like, look, it's classified.
Hey, bro, check this out. Yeah. You are not supposed to see this. Look.
But in that same in those documents that came out, there was this one part that a lot of people are talking about, I think rightfully, where Biden like forgets the years that he was vice president. And he forgets like the names of some world leaders that he talked to, or he said somebody's name, like an old president of France that's been dead for like however many decades. Not good.
He said, oh, Napoleon, Emperor of France.
I knew him back in the heyday, yeah.
Mr. Bonaparte, me and him did a lot of diplomacy.
They did him wrong. They did him wrong. Look, it's just like I wasn't really surprised to see a lot of that. It's bad. Like, it's not good optically.
He's old.
It looks real bad.
He's never going to beat the old allegations. Yeah. He's never going to meet honestly, he's not going to meet the mentally fit to run for office allegations either. Like, come on, man.
No, yeah, it looks real bad for him, but I wasn't surprised, and I don't know that it really does anything. Everyone knows he's old. You know what I mean? Everyone knows he's old.
That's my point. It's like I feel like conservatives can't stop hammering home like every single like gaffe or whatever that he does on camera. Every time he forgets something, anytime he stumbles over his words, they cannot shut the fuck up about it. Everybody knows at this point. Like, I don't think you're winning any new ground the more you point out how old he is. Look, I don't like it.
And it's like Joe Biden's like the dementia old, and Trump is like the belligerent old. You know what I'm saying? They're the same guy, but just different types of old.
Yeah.
Neither of them are getting away from it. Trump just looks better because he's a little bit. I wouldn't even say he's necessarily more charismatic, but he's just more energetic.
Well, he doesn't.
Biden is sleepy.
He's not exactly. He's Sleepy Joe.
Exactly.
He's
in the name.
Sleepy Joe.
It's in the name.
Trump isn't out here like slurring his words.
Yeah.
Trump's just out here like squirrel.
Yeah.
If you say, I don't know, something, he'll just go on a tangent about whatever. He can't think straight.
He's getting people's names wrong as well. He stumbles all the time as well. Like Trump's very old as well. It's just like these are going to be the options. Like that we don't have a choice in it. Funny enough, being a democracy and all that, it is what it is.
Oh man!
But that's election news. The two old guys are going to win the primaries. Nikki Haley doesn't stand a chance. Not even against nobody.
Not even against no one.
When the competition is literally you or no one. GOP primary voters are choosing no one, which is not a good sign.
This is the realest that GOP primary voters have ever been.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that Democratic primary voters have ever been this real. They put in Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah, Pete Buttigieg got votes.
Pete Buttigieg got votes.
And if Democratic voters were real, they would go out and give the same margins for nobody against Joe Biden. But they're not doing that. They're not doing that. I wish they would.
Have you ever wondered what we're thinking about during the week?
Well, I know what I'm thinking about.
I know what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
I probably know what this guy's thinking about too, but do you? I don't think you do. But if you want access into, I don't know, my mind palace, the inner workings of what's going on, how I come up with the bars I need to develop this show every week, to produce this wonderful podcast we bring to you every week, why don't you head over to X, formerly known as Twitter.com, and give us a follow, You
can also consider becoming a subscriber on YouTube.
That's right.
You could follow us on Instagram, see what we're shit posting on the stories.
Oh my gosh.
We have a plethora of options available to you if you want to engage with the Hiddo community. So consider following us on social media. It's completely free.
For free.
It's completely free, and it supports the show. Moving on to some legislation.
Oh, yeah.
We got to talk about immigration again.
Hot topic. Apparently the fucking hottest topic of this election cycle.
Yeah. For the last few weeks, we've been covering immigration news from the potential civil war at the border to potential legislation that's working its way through Congress. And that's what we're going to cover today because we finally have the details for a bill that we can talk about.
Civil war that, mind you, Greg Abbott just got away with.
Yeah, he did just get away with that.
Joe Biden's just not doing anything.
Biden's like, well, we could just, come together and pass this deal and solve the problem. It's like, dog, you should have hit him with a Tomahawk missile.
We'll get into it.
So for the last 2 weeks, we've been covering immigration news, as I said, and we finally have the details for the bill, the mythical bill that has been being worked on for the past couple of months. So it's $118 billion in total. It funds immigration policies, which we'll get into more specifically in a moment. And then it also funds the money that we want to give to Israel, Taiwan, and Ukraine, which is, it is what it is. It's fine. The idea here is to pair them all together to hopefully create a Venn diagram where the overlap is enough votes to pass in both chambers. I don't know how you're going to do that, though.
Yeah.
Americans and a lot of politicians, both on the left and the right, are really put off by the idea of funding a variety of these things in the bill, right?
Yes, to say the least.
I don't think that the effect of this bill is going to be like a unified front, but it's just going to polarize people even more.
Well, I feel like because they're trying to make the circle of the Venn diagram in the middle like way bigger so that they can get enough votes to pass it in the Senate, and it feels like that's to the detriment of shrinking that Venn diagram when you actually go to the broader American electorate and just the public who doesn't really a lot of these things.
Yeah, I feel like this bill is very 2012, 2014 coded.
Yeah.
I feel like this might be something that would fly under the Obama administration where Republicans are in control, I think, of both chambers after 2010 or something like that. I don't see how this passes in this political environment, especially after all the anti-Ukraine, pro-Russia sentiment from the right and the, albeit small but still non-trivial in terms of votes being gathered, amount of, I guess, non-support for Israel that comes from progressives. I feel like AOC, Rashida Tlaib, and those folks, people in the squad will be like, we shouldn't be sending all of this money to Israel.
Yeah.
At least I would hope that's what they would say, and then that might be reason to vote on the bill.
I think we talked about last week how Bernie Sanders proposed an amendment to this bill to limit the Israel funding to just Iron Dome shit or whatever, defensive capabilities. He was the only person to vote against that.
Yeah.
He was the only Democrat to vote, or I guess vote for removing the funding. All 49 or 50 of the other ones said, no, go ahead.
Yeah, Bernie came around, thankfully,
finally.
On the issue. It took him a little while, but he got there. But yeah, I think what I'm trying to say here is I think grouping all these things together, the idea is to get enough votes from a variety of places to get it to pass. But I think the opposite's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to get people together.
Well, it's also, you have Mike Johnson to jump over.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you have this in later, but he's not budging.
Yeah.
He's not budging.
So let's talk about the immigration policies. It offers emergency authority for Biden to shut down the border completely, which is something we talked about a little bit last week. But here are some of the details. So Border Patrol would be forced to close the border if the 7-day average reaches 5,000 a day in encounters, or if they reach 8,500 encounters in a single day. For context, we're above these numbers right now. So the border would be shut down according to this bill.
I think that's the point.
Yeah.
Is we're above these numbers so that Biden can immediately go in and say he shut down the border should this pass.
Which is like, is this not just a quota system? I thought we couldn't do quotas. I could have sworn that was not legal. Like, I thought we got rid of that a long time ago, but maybe I'm mistaken.
Especially once you go on later and you see that they have to process a minimum of like 1,400.
Yeah.
1,400 people a day have to be processed through the legal ports of entry.
Yeah, and conservatives have taken these numbers and tried to say like, oh, so the Biden administration wants to allow 5,000 illegal immigrants in on average before they're going to shut down the border. And it's like, no, these are border encounters, meaning Border Patrol found them and either took them to a point of entry where they declared asylum or sent them back. We're not talking about just 5,000 people crossing the border uninterrupted.
And it's like that right there is a fundamental example of why you just cannot engage with that rhetoric.
No,
because they will find literally anything to just fucking rip apart. Oh my God.
Yeah. Especially because, well, first, if that automatic shutdown thing happens, then that could last up to 270 days. For context.
And then it can last like up to 200 days, and then 100. They means tested it.
Yeah, they means that. Well, yeah, all of the things in this bill would, I think, sunset after 4 years or something like that to be like re-engaged later on. So this wouldn't last indefinitely. But then also Biden could just close down the border completely under emergency provisions on his own if he wanted to.
What does that look like? Like outside,
nobody gets to come in.
This is already closing down the border.
Yeah,
he can just say additionally, like, no, it's just.
I think what it's saying is that if we don't reach those averages or 8,500 in a single day, Biden can still just shut down the border if he wants to, regardless. So if we're below the threshold, below the quotas, then Biden can still just shut it down if he wants to, and those shutdowns can last for 45 days if he wants to do it. And he wants to do it. He's literally said, I want to do this. He said,
I will shut down the border on day one. Just same thing Trump said. Same exact thing that Trump's been saying.
Yeah. And as you alluded to, it's not like complete closure where literally nobody is coming in. According to NBC, quote, during an emergency closure, Border Patrol would still need to process a minimum of 1,400 migrants who try to enter the U.S. legally through ports of entry. Only unaccompanied minors would be able to cross between points of entry. So this would be called illegal immigration, right? And any migrant who tried to cross illegally 2 or more times during a border emergency would be barred from the U.S. for a year. That's pretty strict.
Yeah,
that's certainly more strict than it is right now, and seems to be literally everything conservatives want.
But it's also like, what does that barring from the U.S. for a year look like? Does that mean you cannot try to seek asylum in the U.S.?
Seems illegal. Seems like in violation of international law.
Because I mean, technically, like, right, they're already barred from the U.S. if they're crossing over illegally. Like, you know what I mean? Could they not? Should they receive legal means of entering the country? Can they not?
Yeah.
Should they want to seek asylum in the country? Can they not?
Right.
What?
It seems crazy to me. Also, notably, catch and release would be abolished. This was a practice, I think, established under Barack Obama.
Okay.
Instead, asylum seekers would be under supervision after 90 days if being caught crossing illegally, and they can stay if they pass a series of asylum interviews. I couldn't find any information on what the interviews would consist of. I can only imagine they'd be like impossibly difficult.
100%. Yeah. 100%. Isn't catch and release, that was a big thing that Trump wanted to end?
Yeah.
That was like a huge thing that he always talked about.
And he didn't end it. It stayed in
notably,
policy.
Notably, Trump did not end it. Notably, Trump really didn't do many things different when it comes to immigration policy than what Obama did.
Except be more violent.
In fact, Trump did a little bit less. He deported less people, somehow was more violent with it, and just like talked about building a fucking fake wall.
Oh, yeah, but our border was totally secure under Donald Trump.
Our total was so secure under Donald Trump, despite Obama doing literally more and Biden also doing wanting to do literally more.
Not in this bill, notably, is a pathway to citizenship, not present whatsoever. I don't even think it was considered to be in the bill at any point. And there are also no new policies to help DACA recipients, as Democrats have said they wanted to do, but nothing on DACA, a program that Trump tried to get rid of via executive order, I think, in 2017, but a court didn't let him do it. So we'll see what happens here. But my thought is that this bill is certainly not going to pass on its own, and it's not going to pass paired with literally anything else.
No, and that's not even speaking to like even if we're not speaking to the merits of the bill, this bill's just not going to pass because Donald Trump said, don't pass this bill. Yeah. And Mike Johnson said, okay.
Yeah.
He's just not going to bring it up in the House.
Yeah. And one of my observations here is like, even if it did pass, it's pretty easy to see how these powers would just be completely abused by someone like Trump if he were to win. Yeah. Like, presumably, unless Democrats start like sweeping every election, there's going to be a Republican president again at some point, which, we should stave off as long as possible. But, let's assume Donald Trump wins this election cycle and this immigration bill was passed into law, then you could see how Trump would just find some way to lock it down permanently. Yeah.
Shut down the border, executive action. It's done forever.
Yeah. And despite being literally everything the GOP wants, it doesn't seem like it's going to pass. Republicans have said that Biden doesn't need a bill to solve immigration.
What the fuck does that mean?
As a way to say like, oh, well, this border problem is completely his fault. He doesn't need legislation. It's all a trick. And it's like, well, why'd you try to pass a bill under Trump then for immigration if the president doesn't need a bill?
What he doesn't need laws. Yeah, he doesn't need fucking laws to do things. He doesn't need another lever of government to be able to actually do something about an issue.
He doesn't need laws or resources or border patrol. He could just shut it down himself personally. He could go there and do it.
Absolutely fucking insane. Yeah. And the discourse further surrounding this is also crazy because Biden, like we alluded to earlier with regards to Greg Abbott, he's like, oh, well, why don't we come together and work to pass an immigration bill to solve this? Why don't we do all this instead of worrying about your secessionist activities?
An immigration bill that completely capitulates to the right on literally every
immigration bill that is literally more than conservatives could have hoped for under Trump.
Yeah, that's what Lindsey Graham said and Mitch McConnell.
Like this is more than what they would have gotten under Republican leadership. Yeah. Because now Democrats are just letting them do anything. At least Democrats would have been able to fight back if Trump was president or something else was going on. But now they're just willing to do anything. And the Biden administration is trying to spin this as being, oh, look, it's Republicans that are holding up immigration. It's Republicans that are holding up all these things. And while, yes, that is true, you are not going to get through to the people you're trying to get through to by appealing to conservative hypocrisy.
No, as we've said before, you're not going to win the people that think a white genocide is happening. Those people are not voting for Democrats. Like, it doesn't matter how much you capitulate to them on immigration or how much you ostensibly try to pass some kind of immigration reform that is good enough for conservatives. They're not voting for you.
Absolutely
Even moderate
not.
Conservatives in fucking Iowa that are concerned about brown people coming in illegally, quote unquote, are not going to vote for you because they're delusional. The issue's not real.
Yeah, they've lost the pot. Yeah. All these people in these Midwest just fucking flyover states that care the most about immigration over anything else have lost the plot.
Yeah.
It's not worth trying to get them on this issue. Like, I'm sorry. And the administration and I guess other like Democrats are walking around applauding this as kind of a rhetorical win.
Yeah.
And it's like, sure, but this is very masturbatory. This is very Ivory Towers disconnected from what I guess drives actual conservatives, what drives these people to vote Republican.
Yeah, and it's just so disappointing to me because there's basically no counter messaging from Democrats whatsoever when it comes to this. Like, they've completely bought into Republican framing on this issue, which, if you've been paying attention to conservative framing on immigration, posits that Joe Biden is illegally importing voters so that he can win the election in 2024. Yeah. It's like, how are you going to play on their turf here? You need to push back and say, no, actually, immigration's good for the United States. We need more resources dedicated to things like NGOs and courts that handle asylum appeals and things like this, but we don't need to crack down on immigrants because immigrants help our country.
Yes, it's about you can go on, you can spin it and say, yes, we do want to pass immigration legislation, but we want to pass legislation that funds the NGOs that actually help process asylum seekers who are waiting in this country so they're not homeless on the streets doing whatever. Or we need this to fund asylum judges so that they can process these people quicker and get to, I don't know, fucking justice.
Yeah, and it's like, if you could pinpoint Greg Abbott as like the face of all of this drama that's been happening recently. You could get out there and say, Texas wants us to crack down on immigration, but immigrants make up a fucking quarter of their economy.
Yeah.
And they want us to crack down on immigration. That would hurt the economy of Texas, hurt the people of Texas, and hurt the United States.
And it's also like, why is it us that have to sit here and focus on how fucking violent Greg Abbott has been when it comes to immigration, and not the administration? Why has the administration not been issuing condemnation after condemnation after condemnation for what Greg Abbott has been doing, what he's been trying to do? Like, why aren't they hammering it home how just fucking psychotic he is? You're not winning the conservative voter over. You may be able to win the moderate over, but you're not winning the conservative voter by appealing to conservative hypocrisy. The plot, it's already so far gone.
Yeah, and it's like the entire issue of immigration is just a contrived issue by the conservative national project. Right? Like almost none of what they talk about when it comes to issues at the border is real. And so by capitulating to them for this sort of piece of legislation, it only gives them political clout. You have nothing to gain from it because it's not a real issue.
And it's like one of the headlines or one of the lines that either Biden or the White House spokesperson or a press secretary said was, okay, well, if the border's still an issue, now it's Republicans' fault for holding up this bill. Yes, you're right. But I went on r/conservative to see what they thought about this. And they're like, oh, really? It's Republicans' fault. Huh? Republicans are trying to do all this. Donald Trump had this border on fucking lock. And as soon as Joe Biden came in, everything went to shit. Like, come on.
Yeah.
It's not worth engaging with this.
That's why I'm saying, like, if you just offered counter messaging on this and then focused on issues that actually matter to people, things like abortion, like, which is one of the issues that Democrats have a fucking slam dunk on.
Yeah.
Then you wouldn't have to worry about, like, your potential election chances coming in November.
Or honestly, even the fucking economy.
Yeah.
I know the economy is not a winning issue for Biden, it's not a winning issue for Biden for kind of the same way immigration isn't a winning issue for Biden, but there's more push and pull to be had there. The economy arguments are not entirely fueled by racism and white replacement.
Yeah.
There's at least some real economic fears there that the Biden administration can try and appeal to that they're just not. Like, you're going to have a much easier time if you pivot back to that issue as being the number one issue than, I don't know, the brown people are coming to take all the whites away.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, when it comes to the economy, Republicans will say things like, oh, well, tax cuts stimulate the economy and help create jobs and stuff like that. And you can argue on those finer details. They're often wrong on the economy, right? But yeah, when it comes to immigration, they're saying things like immigrants are coming to take your jobs, immigrants are replacing the white race, immigrants are, doing voter fraud or whatever. None of it's real.
Yeah.
And all of it's fueled by xenophobia. By giving in to their demands, you're only helping them electorally, even if you can, in the short term, say like, oh, they gave up a chance to do something about immigration. At least the Democrats are trying. It just stokes the flames. It doesn't really do anything. It's not a win on anything.
And it's just insane because one of the biggest pieces of rhetoric being pushed by conservatives is that Joe Biden is importing Democratic voters.
Yeah.
Dog, that is literally not real. They cannot vote.
Yeah.
They cannot vote for Joe Biden. No matter what they do, it doesn't fucking work. Oh, man.
Yeah, and it's Nazi shit, of course. Like, you got to push back against that stuff, not say, well, let's do a bipartisan deal to solve the problem. It's like,
well, no, hear me out. What if we came together? Greg Abbott, I know you said you literally want to fucking shoot migrants that come across the border, and the only reason you're not is because I'd prosecute you. I think we can synthesize these ideas here.
Yeah, what if we come together?
Joe Biden, the dialectical materialist, is saying, we have two competing ideas. What if we synthesize them?
Yeah, like at this point, it's just collaborationism with fascists, right? Like any coming together over the issues that they're talking about is just insane. Like imagine if he did this on LGBTQ issues.
Yeah.
Like he's like, oh, well, there aren't pornographic books in kids' schools, but let's come together and make a bill. It's like everyone would call him insane. But for some reason on this issue, maybe everyone wouldn't call them insane. I've just been seeing liberals on Twitter and elsewhere kind of saying like, well, there are problems at the border and kind of giving into the framing.
The problems at the border are with the lack of funding. Like, yes, there is an issue with how many people are coming across the border. It's because we don't have the funding to process them. Yeah. Like, that's what the fucking issue is, dog.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Ceding ground to fascists on issues like this, especially ones that are so core to like the white identity that goes along with a lot of American fascism, ceding ground on those issues is never going to be helpful. It's not going to help your election chances. It's not going to do anything beneficial. And it's not real. It doesn't actually resolve the issue, which is that we have been wreaking havoc on Latin America for a long time. There are still a lot of economic and political issues in Latin American countries, and that drives people into the United States. That's all besides the point that like freedom of movement is a good thing. I think people should be allowed to come into the U.S. or any country if they want to. Hot take.
Crazy thought.
Yeah.
What a wild place to think of.
Yeah. It's I guess it's just it's a tale as old as time. Liberals capitulating to fascists and then things getting worse, you know? It's not new. It's just like, come on, we can be a little better than this. And I can't blame leftists that are like, it seems like Joe Biden doesn't even want to win. Like, it seems like he doesn't even care about democracy, despite him talking about it all the time. It's like, well, see, that's how he's acting, right?
It's like, honestly, at this point, it would probably be better to take the optical loss on immigration, because keep in mind, you are losing to people who were never going to fucking vote for you in the first place, and not do an immigration bill, because you are going to have a better chance at killing an immigration bill that's going to be harmful for some of the most vulnerable people on the planet. The people that are trying to illegally cross the border. You have a better chance of killing that under a Republican administration, because you don't have this constant barrage that you feel like you need to capitulate to. You have a better chance of unifying the Democrats to just pull a Mitch McConnell, I guess, and strong arm an issue. Should we hold on to the Senate? Like, come on, man. Come on.
Well, speaking of things that aren't going to pass, there's also a tax bill that's currently moving through Congress. It includes a couple of good things. There are some things that kind of cave to right-wing demands, and like tax deductions and different sorts of things that right-wingers want. And there's also reportedly some good things in the bill, like the child tax credit getting a comeback.
A big comeback? Oh my God, back in a major way.
But I got to believe it's not going to happen, simply because it could be good for working families in the United States, right?
Lobby for the small podcaster tax credit.
Yeah, there were like some business taxes in it, and I think it's planned to have and I think it's planned to have the child tax credit come back in some way, probably not as substantially as it was under the pandemic, but I gotta believe Republicans won't let it happen, especially if they don't get any kind of action on immigration that they want to see, that Trump approves of. I can't see them passing anything that will make Biden look good at all, right?
And it's like at this point, there was a clip. It's if we're skipping ahead a little bit in the episode, like while we're talking about legislation, we ought to talk about the impeachment.
Okay.
The impeachment query that was going on. Conservatives were trying to impeach the Secretary of Homeland Security, right?
Yeah, for the crisis at the border, quote unquote.
Exactly, for like a dereliction of duty, failing to, I don't know, fucking do the law or some bullshit. It was an entirely made up thing that they were trying to impeach her about.
Him
about
Mayorkas,
it was entirely just made up, fictionalized narrative that they wanted to get him out of there about. And they tried so hard to get him out that they waited until a Democrat was scheduled to have a surgery that day, so he would miss the vote, so they would have the narrowest window to win. And he had to show up and vote in his scrubs.
That's awesome.
Fucking insane.
I think after that, Marjorie Taylor Greene was like, the Democrats tricked us.
She did.
Yeah, it was like, wasn't it like 215 to 215 or something like that?
I think so.
It's like, that's the George Santos margin. You know what I'm saying?
Also, I bring it up because Matt Gaetz afterward said that he missed things like this make him miss Kevin McCarthy.
Oh, and Mike Johnson's fucked.
You know what? Things like what's going on at the immigration bill. I feel like if Kevin McCarthy was still the speaker right now, I feel like we'd have an easier time at getting things done.
Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to say is, like, if Mike Johnson eventually caves to people like Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham, or even like more moderates in the House that want to see this passed, he's going to lose his job.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way. Like, none of the people on the far right, like Marjorie Taylor Greene or Matt Gaetz or Bob Good and so on, none of them want to see this bill pass. So if Mike Johnson puts it up, that's his job. Like, that's it, right? I don't know how he survives that. And then we get another, month of having no speaker in the House, unable to do anything.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Imagine the generals going on and they're trying to elect a speaker while they're trying to elect a president. Come on, man.
Oh, man.
Come on, man.
It'd be good. Also, the last thing I guess I'll say on the immigration legislation is that this was a bipartisan deal between, I think, the Democratic senator from Delaware. I can't remember his name. And then this other guy, James Lankford.
Okay.
And apparently Senator Lankford is like one of the most conservative Republicans in the Senate in terms of voting record. Like, he's always voting with the far right. Like, he's never capitulating on liberal demands or anything. Like, he is not a Mitt Romney type. You know what I mean? And now Fox News and a bunch of other far right political organizations, like news organizations,
Pin him as a Marxist?
Are coming out, and they're basically saying like you're betraying us. I think Jesse Kelly, he's a Twitter guy.
Yeah.
Apparently on his radio show, he was like, if you get this passed, like we are never gonna let you live it down. Like we're gonna make your life hell if you get this passed. It's like, and he's out here like, I got everything we wanted.
He said, do you know how hard I worked to get this deal through? To actually, he's one of the I guess rare principled conservatives. He's the principled fascist that is getting out there like, no guys, I'm stopping the invasion.
I thought you wanted to kill immigrants. We're killing immigrants. It's what we're doing.
I thought there was an invasion at the border. I'm stopping it. What's going on? I'm protecting the white race.
It is politically convenient that there's a quote unquote invasion at the border, but if bill passes to solve it under Biden, then that won't work. But if Trump did it, it would work. We got to save it for Donald Trump.
When Trump says he wants to shut down the border, he actually means it, and it would be good. But when Biden actually means it, it would be bad.
Biden's saying, I promise I'll shut down the border.
I will literally close it down. Nobody can fucking come through. Nothing. Zip. Nada.
I knew Senator Langford was a Marxist from day one.
Like, oh, really? You're going to let unaccompanied minors through?
What's wrong with you? How dare you, Senator?
So you're letting illegal immigrants into this country?
Oh, what do you mean they didn't commit a crime? They crossed the border illegally.
Exactly.
They all committed a crime.
Burr. It's a bit chilly up here in the north, but I know we have a lot of viewers down south in the warmer climates, to say the least. And, you might need some drip to walk around in this new year, 2024.
Exactly.
And, if you need some, we got some. Head on over to headintheoffice.com to check out our wonderful merch drops. You got the Indictment collection, the Indictment Era collection. You can go on over and look at our previous drop. We got great t-shirts going on.
Great t-shirts. And if you don't even want something to wear, maybe you don't want to wear a t-shirt, you can get a hat to put on your head.
A little cap.
That's important to keep the sun out of your eyes.
In the winter months.
Exactly. Or maybe you can get a sticker sheet to put some pictures of us or some Hiddo iconography all over the things that you own.
Rep it on your water bottle.
And not only do you get some beautiful merch, but you also help out the show.
Exactly.
And we know all of you want to help out the show.
I know you all want to make us smile and you want to buy our friendship. And we'll be real friends.
Yeah, so head over to headintheoffice.com, support the show, get yourself some merch, and we'll love you. Moving on to our next topic here, we're talking transphobia.
Yes, we are. It's kind of been a while.
Yeah.
There's been a brief respite. There's a while going on there, throughout the duration of the show where we were talking about it so often that there was 1 week. Y'all had 1 week where there was a break.
Yeah, and then we were back with a vengeance. And then Israel happened, October 7th.
Oh, that's what.
And that's kind of been, we've been on a hiatus. Well, we've talked about it here and there, book burnings and so on. But there's been a bit of a hiatus since then.
A hiatus more like we were fulfilling our duty as the #1 geopolitical podcast.
Speaking of book burnings, before we get into this, it's sort of related. There's somebody running either for Senate or for a House district that had this commercial air on Fox News where they have a flamethrower and they're literally burning books saying like, I'll get rid of the pornography that's in your kids' classrooms or whatever. Like actually doing book burnings. And I just thought it was hilarious.
That's sick.
Like Fox News reposted it to their Instagram and stuff. And I was just like, oh, we're literally doing book burnings.
Wow, cool. So this is what we fuck with now. Yeah. Right, nice. All right.
It's like you're not beating the Nazi allegations. You're out here doing actual book burnings and you want us to take you seriously? Anyways, talking transphobia now.
Oh, yeah.
We got to go to Kansas. Not a great place.
Not a great
place with a Democratic governor, though. Learned that recently, yeah.
What?
Kentucky and Kansas, they both got Democratic governors. Isn't that crazy? Kentucky, I think, is Andy Beshear, right?
Yeah.
I think he's up for election this year. Or maybe he was up for election last year and won. I don't fucking remember. Either way, red state.
Either way, I guess miracle that they're in there. Especially Kentucky, like... I feel like the fact that they have a blue governor and Mitch McConnell and Rand Paul, Mr. Defund FEMA, but not for when my state gets hit with a hurricane. I don't know how that happens. I don't know what idiosyncrasies are going on over there that allow that to happen.
Godless place, truly.
Some cognitive dissonance, let me tell you. Yeah, I'm going to vote split ticket this election. I really want Mitch McConnell to keep his seat.
Perfect. Speaking of split ticket, they've got a Democratic governor in Kansas, but a Republican attorney general. And we've been covering the actions of Republican attorney generals for quite some time.
Some of the most unhinged people in the country.
Yeah, because I feel like attorney general is not a high profile, position to go and get, especially statewide.
Yeah, I feel like that's a way easier election to win.
Yeah, you're like the head litigator, basically. You're doing lawsuits and shit like that, or protecting the state against lawsuits. So to go after attorney general, you got to be like a special kind of evil and know the system. And that's kind of what we're getting out of this guy here.
Oh, nice.
So the Republican attorney general in Kansas, Chris Kobach, has written several letters to school districts in Kansas demanding that public schools out students to their parents by informing them if their student identifies as transgender or non-binary while they're at school. AG Kobach has said, quote, failing to disclose when a child is socially transitioning or identifying as non-binary at school violates a parent's rights.
Okay.
Which is
which one?
Awful.
Which parent's right does this violate, please?
Yeah, and it's interesting because, to be clear, Kansas does not have any law on the books that mandates this. Some other red states do. I think Florida has one of these. Texas probably has one of these. Kansas is not one of those states.
So he's just lying.
That has parents' rights, or whatever that means, ingrained into their education system. So parents have a legal right to know that their student is identifying as trans in school. Nice. That's not on the books.
He's just using he's using his position of power he's using his authority over people as a means of just lying to them about laws. And scaring them into outing their queer kids.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if your teacher was like, pulled you to the side, so you've got a little kid, and they're like, your son, he really likes to go by, your son Benjamin, he really likes to go by Ben in class.
Yeah, nicknames.
I had to let you know that your son really likes to identifies as Ben, dare I say, in class, and he asked that we call him Ben.
Yeah,
and I wanted to make sure you were aware of this before we continued.
It's especially beyond parody here because the letters that have been addressed from the Attorney General to various superintendents and school districts have said, and I quote, have accused school districts of, and I quote, surrendering to woke gender ideology. Which is just perfectly out of the culture war book. You know what I mean? It's so good.
I feel like, what was it, 3, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, whenever Gamergate was going on, and a little bit after that, the big accusation was conservatives against liberal discourse. You're just throwing buzzwords. It's just buzzword out there. That's all they fucking do. All they do is throw woken, gender ideology in there, gender bender, gender whatever.
And suddenly you have an ideology.
And suddenly you have ears.
Yeah. And now, to be clear, as I said, Kansas does not have a law in the books that can mandate schools forcibly out their kids to their parents. There's no enforcement mechanism here, so a lot of school districts have done, nothing with this request or, I suppose, demand to out their students. But he didn't just give up and, go silent into the night.
Well, you can't.
Hold his L.
He stands on business.
The Kansas Attorney General took this to where anyone should take it if they're holding L's, Twitter. And he posted the following. He said, quote, several Kansas school districts allow employees to hide from parents the fact that a student may be using a different name or pronouns at school. Parents deserve to know. He then followed it up and said, schools should not socially transition students without parental consent.
Brother.
And I want to zero in here on the fact that he said socially transition. We're not talking about medical intervention at this point. We're not talking about them taking hormones or puberty blockers or anything like that. We are purely talking about them using maybe a different name, maybe a different pronouns. And I gotta think that if a student is not telling their parent about their gender identity that they use when they're at school, there's probably a good reason for that. And the fact that he wants the state to intervene and force schools to out their kids, out the students to the parents, is only going to harm trans and non-binary students. That's the point.
Yeah, well, it's also the fact that he said schools should not socially transition students, as if schools are the ones who are facilitating the social transition, and not the fact that, like you said, kids are using school as a safe place to express themselves when their parents may be violent or abusive.
Yeah, and we have statistics on this. A lot of students identify school as a safe place to be themselves.
Yes.
And if you take school away, and if they feel like their parents are abusive or judgmental or whatever it may be about their gender ideology, then they literally have nowhere to go. So the intended effect here is either that students are forcibly outed and then potentially face harmful consequences at the hands of abusive parents, or students never identify themselves as what they truly feel like they are at school. And it's just a way of suppressing trans and non-binary kids and ensuring that they functionally can't exist as they are in school. It's taking away a safe place. It's evil.
Schools are not socially transitioning your children.
Yeah.
Your children may decide to undergo social transition at school.
Yeah.
And the school is kind of just a banal factor in that. They are something that exists in the background.
Yeah.
It's not why they're socially transitioning.
And it's like, school's important because you can potentially be with friends, you can be with people that maybe feel the same way that you do, that you didn't know about before, so you kind of feel seen. It's also a place where there are adults that potentially accept you for who you are, where other adults don't, right? It can be a safe place. I feel like they know this already, and the point is that they have to take away all safe places possible so that students feel like they can't express themselves and their gender, so that they feel... I don't know, stuck, and they feel as though they shouldn't. They feel as though they have no other option but to just conform to what their parents want and conform to what fucking AG Chris Kobach wants.
Oh yeah, shout out AG
story.
Chris Kobach enforcing laws that are not on the books.
Yeah, luckily he can't enforce this with any like legal mandate or anything. But it's not good.
Not good at all.
It's Republicans being evil.
Wow, I love that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's fucking insane, these attorney generals.
Yeah.
But while we're on the topic of schools, and more importantly, while we're on the topic of transphobia, we have another story to cover.
Perfect.
So a particularly problematic board member of the Utah Department of Education, Natalie Klein, recently made a post on her Facebook that led to harassment so bad that a Utah school had to hire police protection for one of their students.
Oh my God.
The post in question was a picture of an Instagram post a Utah high school made showing two girls that were on their women's basketball team. One of the girls had short hair and a little bit of muscle. Klein's caption was, quote, "girls basketball, ...
Like, this is suspicious.
Oh, it was in, like, quotes, girls basketball.
Transvestigation.
I'm sure you can see where this is going, but here's the kicker. Not trans at all.
Yeah, well,
the girl with the short hair and muscles is just a cis woman who's just got a musclier build and short hair, like many women do.
Yeah, this is where like all of the transvestigations lead. By the way, it's like a brain disease. People look everywhere. It's like when you first learn about the Illuminati, and you're like, oh my God, I see triangles everywhere.
Holy shit, dude! Jay-Z's putting up the triangle.
It's like these people learned that trans people exist, and now they don't think that anyone is cis.
People learned
maybe I'm not.
Trans people exist, and now they're busting out the calipers to measure your fucking jawline and measure your cheekbones and the skull density and your bone density, and they're looking, the eyebrow ridge on that one. It's really not there. It must be a man.
Sometimes there's this meme that circulates where it's like, well, identify as whatever you want, but once you're dead and people have uncovered your skeleton, they'll know what you are. And it's like a picture of the hip bone.
Yeah.
And like average size for male and average size for female. And it's like, it's not that simple. Like, it's not like every man, every cis man has a hip bone like this, and every cis female has a hip bone like that. Like, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. You're trying to boil people down to some arbitrary biological characteristic that you can use to associate them with one set of behaviors, or one set of behaviors you think they should be required to follow. It's like, no, humans are a lot more complex, and boiling it down to these categories just makes life so dull and you mentally ill.
And it's also like, I don't fucking care what happens to me after I die.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think it really matters what some future civilization identifies me as. I want to identify as what I want to be right now. Like, that's it. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
But after the broader public learned that she launched a failed transvestigation against a high schooler, just a minor, there was some natural outrage, and Klein couldn't take the heat, and she dropped a YouTuber level apology, of which the highlights include, quote, "We live in strange times when it is normal to pause and wonder if people are what they say they are because of the push to normalize transgenderism in our society," end quote. The other highlight was, quote, "Sadly, our good faith efforts to be accepting of differences has, at time, been taken advantage of, causing a loss of trust, which leads to suspicions about girls who are more buff than most. This is a sad consequence of the trans movement being foisted upon to us."
I think this is a consequence of you being a dumbass.
I couldn't mind my own fucking business and open my dumbass mouth when I shouldn't have. That's because trans people made me.
Yeah, no, it's just like the Charlie Kirk clip where he's like, I don't want to be racist, but you guys, liberals have made me racist. No, dog.
And it's like, what good faith effort to accept differences? You saw a girl that was just a little bit different than what other girls traditionally present as. You said trans.
Well, and just
instantly trans.
Different from what you subjectively perceive women should look like.
Exactly. Different from your model idea of femininity.
Yeah.
And you go, that's trans.
Yeah.
This is a good faith effort on my part to accept differences.
How sad are these people to just look around the world and like try to identify features that, I don't know, fit one gender or the other in their mind?
Yeah.
Like if I see like a buff woman or like a skinny dude, I'm not going to be like, oh, trans? I don't care, dog. I got better shit to do than wonder if somebody on the high school basketball team is trans or not.
I am not walking around concerned as an adult. At my big age, as a working adult, I am not walking around wondering if high schoolers were assigned female at birth or assigned male at birth. I'm not thinking about the birth certificate and any discrepancies that may arise.
This was in Utah, wasn't it?
Yeah.
This was one of the first states where we saw real legislation targeting trans women in sports. And this is one of the states that we covered several months ago now, where the governor was like, guys, we have like 2 trans athletes that participate in sports in the schools. But this is sort of in line with the rest of the episode. This is another reason you simply cannot capitulate to the right on these issues. Yeah. I've seen some progressives, even on like organizations like the TYT, have said like, we have the high ground on every other issue. We have we win the optical game on every other issue on like LGBTQ issues. But for some reason, right wingers have the edge on the sports conversation. So let's just give them that, and then we can move on and like win elsewhere. And it's like, no, all of this is fake. Yeah. All of the outrage is fake, and it just leads to them harming other people in launching these transvestigations against random ass people that aren't even trans to begin with. Not even that a transvestigation would be warranted if the person was trans, right?
They're never warranted.
Exactly.
They're always faulty, and they always get launched against cis people.
Yeah.
If that doesn't say what it's supposed to say, I don't know what does. If that doesn't speak to the validity of a transvestigation, I don't know what does.
Once we start passing these things into law, and once high schools start to like, I don't know, be ordered to crack down on trans people participating in sports, it's just going to lead to more shit like this. Like, no, we got to stomp out the competition. Yeah. You got to win power and exercise it so that they can't do shit like this to the 5 trans people in the country that participate in high school sports. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
Or the cis people that participate in high school sports that just present a little differently.
Yeah, well, that present differently and importantly would be subjected to very invasive medical procedures if bills that Republicans want to pass were to pass.
Yeah.
Right, because if they get caught in these sort of investigations into their gender identity, then they're going to be forced to undergo like genital inspections at the hands of like what? State doctors or something like that. Man. Like, we know where this road leads, right? We're doing penis checks at the bathroom door. And that's not the world that we want to live in.
Doesn't sound appealing to me. Does not sound appealing to me. I also just think it's hilarious that she says, quote, "We live in strange times when it is normal to pause and wonder if people are what they say they are." Or we could just mind our fucking business. Or we could not think about high schoolers like that. I do not spend any of my time thinking about high schoolers, dog.
Yeah. That was the theme for 2023. Conservatives spend way more time thinking about genitals than I ever will. Oh my God, man. It's fucking ridiculous. It's so ridiculous to the point where the Utah representative that actually did ban the trans women in sports bill, she came out and spoke out against this. Well, this is your fault.
This is partly because you paved the way for this. I hope you recognize.
Do we see the downstream consequences of legislating against like the smallest minority group in your state?
But I also think it's funny that these people didn't speak out about this until they found out that a cis woman was being harassed.
Oh, yeah.
When it's a trans girl being harassed, that's completely okay. When a trans girl requires police protection to stop harassment, that's entirely fine. You know, that's warranted. You know, we live in strange times. Yeah. But when it's actually a cis girl who is the one receiving the hate, that's when we need to step in and speak out against hate speech.
Yeah, no, it's really bad. Transphobia, not good.
When hate speech doesn't reach its intended targets, that's when it's bad.
Yeah, it's just, mind your business. Just leave people alone. It's not that important. High school sports are not that deep. College sports aren't even that fucking deep. Who cares?
No, literally.
Yeah.
It's fucking fake.
Outside of the fact of, or all the facts that we've talked about how trans women participating in sports doesn't actually cause any harm on the sport as a whole, whether we're talking high school or college. Even outside of that, when we're just talking purely about the culture war and its optics, leave people alone. Don't capitulate to the demands of the right wing. This is the type of shit they want to do. Yeah. They want to harass people of all varieties, accusing them of being trans because they are delusional.
Fucking psychopath.
It can't be helped. It can't be helped.
Absolute psychopaths.
Yeah.
And that's a member of the school board.
Yeah.
Working in schools. What are we doing?
Yeah.
That's an elected official right there.
That's an elected official. One of like the closest ones to the electorate. You know what I mean? We're talking small time elected official launching investigations against students for no reason.
No reason.
And even if they thought there was a reason, don't do it. Leave people alone. It doesn't matter.
I think it's weird that adults spend so much time thinking about high schoolers' genitals, and I don't think it's controversial to say that.
Yeah,
it shouldn't be.
Yeah. Anyways, I think it's time to end off on some extra news bits.
Some little bits that happened this week that didn't end up being exactly newsworthy.
Yeah.
Full segment worthy.
First one, Tucker interviewed Vladimir Putin, president of Russia.
I thought that was going to be a bigger deal.
Yeah.
I thought that it was going to be way more interesting than it actually was.
It's just a history lesson.
Yeah, the moments we got out of it were Tucker asking some shit about Ukraine and Vladimir, well, you see 200 years ago.
Yeah. Well, you see 800 years ago when Russia first learned how to, I don't know, dig canals.
Yeah, when our great king, I don't know, one of the fucking guys did this and that led to
well, you see Rasputin.
You see Rasputin, massive.
Yeah, he's big for us.
He's a huge guy.
Yeah, no, especially because Tucker dropped like a 4-minute video on Twitter like a couple of days before the interview aired, and he was like gassing it up. He was like, "This is a big deal. I'm the first journalist ever to try to interview Putin and get the other side of the story in Russia." Not true, by the way.
He got fact checked by the Kremlin.
Yeah, the Kremlin was like, "Nah, other people have tried. We just figured Tucker would be cool about it." And he's out here like gassing it up like this is super important. You deserve the truth. And then it was just a history lesson. There's just nothing.
I'm pretty sure somewhere in like doing promo for this, he mentioned some shit like Joe Biden arresting political opponents, blah, blah, blah. Joe Biden persecuting people based on politics. And we're just going to go talk to fucking Putin.
Yeah, the guy the pioneer.
And we're going to talk to the guy who, I don't know, fucking made it the shit to do that.
Like, yeah, Putin's police doesn't arrest his political opponents.
Putin
what are we talking about?
Didn't he try to poison the guy in the last election?
Yes. Also, the best part, though, by far, was when Putin was like, "Yeah, you tried to be a part of the CIA."
Oh my!
Lucky that failed.
Man, that was good. Tucker asked him, "Who blew up Nord Stream?" And he says, "You guys." And he said, "It was your CIA. You know, you tried to be a part of the CIA. Thank God they didn't let you in." Oh my God, man! Just read him.
Putin's real for that.
Read him to filth. And then after that, he hits him with, he's speaking of the CIA, 400 years ago in Russia, under our great czar.
Yeah. Well, you see, we have to start in the year 3 if we want to get a full understanding of all this.
Really, if we're thinking about Prussia and fucking, I don't know, whatever existed in the motherland before, it's just yada, yada, yada. He mentioned how there's like Nazis in Ukraine and Tucker could not push back. Or Nazis in Ukraine and America.
And the U.S., yeah.
And Tucker could not be like, oh, well.
Yeah. Another piece of news is that Trump will not be getting immunity for the crimes he committed while he was president. This was a ruling by the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. This could go to the Supreme Court. I expect that it probably will get appealed up to the Supreme Court.
I think, isn't the Colorado ballot case being appealed to the Supreme Court right now?
Yeah.
Aren't they about to take it up and probably say he has to be on the ballot?
Yeah, I think they're going to say he has to be on the ballot. Just about every justice, at least from either from the leaks or like the pre-opinions, whatever information comes out ahead of time, basically all of them, even the liberals, are saying like the people should get to decide, which is like, I never expected this to stick. You know what I mean? But this decision has a little bit more substance behind it legally, and it seems like, at least from our position right now, that Trump won't get immunity for crimes he committed during his stay as the president, which makes sense. You shouldn't be able to just commit any crime that you want, and then after you're done being president, you can just chill. Yeah. I can't do that. No, I can't commit crimes.
Absolutely not.
They're crimes. They're illegal.
You think it'd be asinine to even bring this to a court. Yeah. You think you'd get laughed out. You say, oh, no, I was the president. I can literally do anything.
It is interesting, though, because Trump's defense, at least publicly, not in the court of law, has been that if presidents can get tried for crimes after they're done being president, then no president will have the strength to do his job. and you're just kind of admitting to be president, you got to commit crimes.
Which it's like,
we knew that. But the fact that he's bringing this to normie discourse is really fucking cool.
I've been saying that every president has been a war criminal. Like fucking ever. Really,
all of them. Really,
literally all of them have been war criminals. They've done awful things, but like, I guess you're not supposed to like say that part out loud at least. Like that's supposed to be something that I reveal to the American public.
I don't know. I think it's cool, and it's fun that Trump went a little bit too far. You know. I don't think this is going to stop presidents from being war criminals if he eventually does get tried for the crimes he committed while in office, the J6 stuff. But he clearly pushed the boundaries too far. Yeah. Like, you can be committing war crimes as in, like, you know, you can indiscriminately kill civilians in the Middle East, but you can't commit the crimes where it's like liberals get mad at you.
Yeah, I was going to say, you'll still be able to do, like, war crimes and, like, the really bad stuff. You can still be complicit in genocide, maybe, dare I say, even fucking murder a bunch of women and children over in the Middle East, do whatever you want. But you can't like annoy liberals a little bit. Yeah, you can't desecrate these sacred halls.
These sacred halls, yeah. Fuck it. You could be like Ronald Reagan funding death squads when Congress explicitly said don't do this, and then get away with it because it's a little too complicated.
There's a geopolitics. It's a crazy quagmire out there in the Middle East.
Or you could be like George W. Kill 1 million people. And just get away with it.
Or you could do the highway of death and nothing can happen to you. But you know, if you're like kind of like if you dare desecrate these sacred halls,
that's in service of the American empire. You know what I'm saying? That's in service of the American project democracy. We're spreading democracy.
Yeah, because you're just doing like precedent. You're building yourself up on precedent like case law, dare I say. But when you do the things that Trump did, you're standing where he stood. Yeah, and you're just spitting all over it. Yeah. I can't believe that. I can't stand for that.
Trump is saying, you know, maybe Trump's right when he says, if you prosecute me, it's opening the door for every president. He might be right about that.
Sounds
and if
good.
he is, good.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
I completely agree.
Absolutely prosecute George W. Bush.
If Joe Biden survives to the end of his presidency, prosecute him.
Absolutely lock him
up. Barack Obama, lock him up. I don't care. Law and order.
But then it also sets a funny precedent that it's like, okay, they have immunity while they're there for 4 years, I guess. You have to wait till after to prosecute them. And it kind of brings me back to the presidential records conundrum, right? Like Trump got on and he's like, you know, when I took the records, I was protected. I was protected by the Presidential Records Act. Joe Biden wasn't. Neither were you, dog. Yeah. Both of you were private citizens at this point. Like that's not how that works, Brody.
No. Prosecute. Is Jimmy Carter still alive?
Didn't he just die recently?
Or HW? I think HW Bush is dead. Well, even if they're like 100 years old at this point, put them in jail. I don't care.
I think didn't Jimmy Carter die like last year or something?
I don't remember. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
So then who is it? It's Bill.
And if Henry Kissinger was still alive, that would have been good.
Fuck, damn
He couldn't live to see the day where we actually started taking Law and Order seriously. Lucky for him.
Who do we even have that's still alive? We have Bill.
Yeah. Bill Clinton's alive. Yeah,
Bill, George. Obama.
Put Bill and Hillary in jail.
Oh
Fuck
my
it.
God, please.
Do you know what they did in Guantanamo Bay?
Yeah, exactly.
Gitmo's still open.
Benghazi or some shit.
Yeah. You know what happened in Benghazi? Start breaking up all the old talking points. But yeah, it seems like
Hillary's email.
Yeah, where did the servers go?
Yeah, what happened to all these fucking emails?
So Trump isn't going to get immunity, and maybe that'll mean justice starts being served in this goddamn country for once.
We finally get back to law and order roots. I'm a law and order leftist. That's all I got to say about this one.
The last one here is that George Santos, his district, New York's 3rd, is up for election on Tuesday. Someone's going to fill his spot.
See, but like, what if he?
Oh, Santos sweep.
What if he could get back in there?
That would be awesome.
I think that'd be the coolest thing that came out of New York in a while.
Yeah, either that or like they lose the seat to a Democrat would be like the best move.
Oh, that definitely. Yeah, it still wouldn't really do much for the balance of power. I guess it would make it so that
make the margin even slimmer.
I guess it would make it so that conservatives in the House couldn't literally schedule votes for when a Democrat has to have surgery. Yeah, to try and get things passed.
I gotta respect that strategy though.
I gotta respect that strategy. And then Marjorie Taylor Greene's hustle when she says they fucking lied to us, they tricked us, right? We were gonna totally do this thing, which you shouldn't be able to do. Yeah, mind you, like you should absolutely not be able to schedule a vote. Like, you shouldn't have to be in person to cast a vote if you have like surgery or something. That seems kind of antiquated. That seems like a relic from a time where we didn't have cell phones or even a telegram.
Yeah, I'm sure they voted on shit when COVID was happening.
Yeah,
how did they do that? Listen, man, we're gonna get someone to fill the Santos seat. I miss him dearly. I wish he would come back. And he even said on Twitter, he was like, I would have voted to impeach Mayorkas. You should have kept me, which is awesome. Like they could have got it done, but they got rid of George too soon. And for that, I can't say he's wrong.
I got to respect the hustle for real. He's making it hurt. Mm-hmm. He's twisting the knife. Oh, my God.
And look, this is a special election, so the seat's going to be back up for election on November 5th, whatever election day is in 2024. So maybe we'll see a Santos comeback.
I was going to say, so what you're telling me is he has 2 chances to come back.
Yeah. I don't think he's running right now, but maybe he'll run again.
Santos redemption arc?
Oh, yeah.
He could go on like a Zuko level redemption and just get right back in there.
And it's just one district in New York. You don't got to go. It's not like you're traveling the country or the whole state.
Hear me out. He doesn't believe in anything. What if he flipped? What if he ran as a Democrat?
Yeah.
If George Santos ran as a Democrat and did the grift just as well for them as he did for conservatives, dare I say it would be morally imperative to put him in?
And I'll come out and say it. I would have been defending him. I would have been like, you can't get, he lied about some stuff.
He lied about his mom dying in 9/11 or some shit and changed the story 3 times. That's traumatic. Mm-hmm. That's traumatic. I'd forget the details too.
Yeah. Listen, 9/11 was national trauma.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone was reeling from that. I was only a couple months old, but still.
But I still have brain fog about it.
Really, we all lost someone that day.
My mom was out of town when 9/11 happened, and her plane got delayed because, planes were kind of a big thing back then. Yeah, I was losing out on a mother's love. That's trauma that I felt because of 9/11. I can't imagine what George Santos in Brazil felt about that.
Brazilian drag queen, yeah. Well, anyways, I think that brings us to the end of this episode. If you liked the episode, maybe consider giving us a subscribe. Maybe give us a
little like. Smash that like button.
Smash the like button. Maybe check out the Patreon. I don't know.
Oh, come on, leave a 5-star if you're on Apple. Hit us up on our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. You all probably came from TikTok, though.
Speaking of Patreon.
Oh,
speaking of beautiful, wonderful, excellent, perfect things in the world.
Yeah, speaking of
the list of patrons.
Beauty incarnate.
Yeah. Things I would defend regardless of who they are, what they do.
Regardless of positions they take, things they've done maybe in the past, present, or future.
Yeah, you've got immunity. For the people that really have immunity in my heart.
Exactly.
These people.
My non-parasocial friends. And my social friends, I'm a ride or die for.
Me too.
I'll steer the whole ship down with you. Yeah, exactly. Special thanks to Caden Kraut, Lord Tal the Radiant, Chris the Postman, Christy Beck, 40% Spite, Dylan B, Andrew Harris, Mike Chaplinsky, Mattias T, Omar Zuno, Clayton LaFed, Mark Yeager, Kaz, Caleb Joy, Rich Toro, Tari, Gavin Mayer Maldonado, Hunter W, Fergalaki, Max Vezquez, Jacob Rogers, Colton Mooberry, Fixer Punk, Jim Egbers, Jeff Muzzy, Bagel Burrito, Cincy Alex, Joe Stenstrom, Adrian Sandoval, Chloe Sam 601, Colleen Cutts, Veryuk, Jennifer DeVoe, Big Bird Titty, Crawfishin, Benneth Bennington III, Alexia Benanti, Nietzsche, Big Booty Beatdown, Sam Maloney, Two-Headed Boy, Ben Shapiro's boyfriend, Jonathan Cassis, Luke O'Shea, Cucker Tarlson, Danielle Jackson, The Word of Microsoft, Jennifer Science, Aaron and his Gundams, Darth Father, Tailored for Content, Corey Chambers, Sewer Snack, L.E.N., John Glover, Devin Hatchard, Retro Mondo, Emma the Doot Slayer, Breezy B, Veronica aka V, Raxon, Ash Smith, The Grotler, Flower Clown, Beetlebugs, Murder in a Trench Coat, Lonnie Rogers, Slavic and Sapphic, Casey Lynn Kelly, Snake Eyes, and Hope of Giants, AK Gone, Aquana Dawn,
Zach Lantian, Info Russell, Austin Greif, Marcus Corbett, Caleb Roper, Taylor Rensock, Ishi Teddy, Cammy, Tylen Freeman, Steak Daddy, Tay Tay, Isaac Hodges, Madeline C, Pab the Pab 69, Kayla Lowe, Anna Volinick, Eduardo Diaz, KCC, Say Yes to Wes, August, Particular Pickman, Sir Capalot, Jeff Signs, Howard the Duck, Brendan is Egg, JR, Drew Batchilder, Froggy Gumdrop, Zen doing their best, Jackie Boy, Shameless, Coherent Babbles, Sasha, MJ is Sharp, Michaela Muncie, The Wallace 3000, Southwest Socialism, Jared Finch, Evil Vegan, Tactical Snowflake, Son of Ander, Vanilla Bryce, Willie Swags, Chris E, Keshawn Lala, Amanda R, Hanky Panky, Tyler J, Damian Blues, Real Nurse RN, Ashley White, Dick Cheney in 3-inch heels, Lalo Valesco, Particulon, and my mom. Thank you all so much for supporting the show on Patreon. We couldn't do it without you.
Literally would not be here, like 2.5 years in.
Exactly.
You know, dare I say, reading that list, my favorite part of the week.
Yeah, best part of the week.
Best part of the week, especially now that I don't have anything to look forward to on like Thursdays when I go home from work to watch Real Ones Know. This is my favorite part of the week.
Exactly. No, best part of the week. We love you all so much. We love you for listening to the episode. And, you know, it's an election year. It's time to focus.
You know, it's Valentine's Day.
Listen, if you're listening to this episode, whatever you're doing, lock in.
Yo, this episode drops on Valentine's Day.
It does. We love you.
I love you. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm overwhelmed with my love for you. This is our last minute gift to you. This is our gift that we gave you the day of.
Yeah, we got
I'm
on the way
not
home.
fucking gay.
Oh my God, I love you guys. My God.
Holy shit, bro. I would never fucking, good thing it's going up on Wednesday because I would never get and give a gift early. Oh my God.
Oh my God. Thank you for listening.
Have a great week.